I have done 5 of these videos. It's going to be over 100 bands I've recommended to you people. Are you not satiated? Are you not satisfied? Does your hunger ever end? In any case, a quick recap, I've organized bands into 3 categories. Bands you have heard of, think mainstream stuff that's everywhere on the radio that your mom has probably heard of. Then there are bands you might have heard of, projects that are well known in specific scenes and regions and genres. And finally, bands you have not heard of, folks who haven't been blessed by any of the algorithms yet, I guess. Got it? Good? Alright, we're keeping this quick. Let's jump straight in. These are the bands that you have heard of. Falling in reverse, I'm just joking. Actually, it's Boy Genius. As good as I think Phoebe Bridgers' music is, I think there's a reason that this band is the source of her only Grammy Awards. It rules so hard, and seeing them live in 2023 was one of the best concerts I've ever attended. What makes Boy Genius so special is sincerely how well all of the members complement one another in their own individual strengths. The band is a supergroup consisting of 3 distinct artists. Lucy Dacus provides an air of wisdom and poetry in epic soundscapes. Julien Baker brings a raw DIY punk rock sensibility and a country twang simultaneously. Phoebe Bridgers douses everything in a voyeuristic, sardonic, coming-of-age diary sheen that's, well, it's Phoebe Bridgers. She's brilliant. We already know this. I saw them in Boise, Idaho before I moved across the country to New Jersey as a last hurrah, and it was perfect. Phoebe Bridgers in particular had a lot to say about my home state. She talked about how she didn't appreciate being ambushed by paparazzi when she was hanging out with Bo Burnham on her way to her father's funeral. She described spending time out in my area as a child growing up, and the song Ketchum, Idaho was sung extra loud at our location. Blessed is all the band, I love this band. I think all the members are badass beyond reproach. These songs are devastating and exciting and mature, and everyone sharing the spotlight only enhances the experience, which isn't universal with all supergroups. Boy Genius is one of my favorite bands ever, and I think that you should listen to Satanist. Everybody in the band gets their moment to shine, and it's a great reflection of who they are as individual songwriters. Chappell Roan, news article authors have coined the term recession pop in the last few years, where artists like Phoebe Bridgers, Taylor Swift, Olivia Rodrigo were tackling more heady and cerebral and depressing subject matter across the 2020s. There was a hunger, a rumbling amongst the youth for something silly, sadness and hopelessness, and no, the children yearn for 2009. And now, here comes Chappell Roan. She comes from genuine DIY roots from YouTube covers, which led her to sign a record label when she was just 16 years old, still in high school. Her label, Atlantic Records, was mad that her song Pink Pony Club didn't chart the top 200, so they just dropped her. Did Chappell Roan wallow and quit? Absolutely not! She got back into saddle, no pun intended, and she kept chugging along. Pink Pony Club takes off, her backlog of music gets a new audience, and suddenly she's one of the biggest pop stars of this century. She's so fundamentally different from the fairly serious tone that's taken hold in recent years, and now much of the industry is playing catch up to her. I think it's undeniable that Chappell Roan is one of the best pop songwriters since the turn of the millennium. So many of her songs are so inspired and tinged with this eternal genius. Hot to Go, iconic. Good Luck Babe, iconic. Red Wine Supernova, Phenomenon, Casual, and of course, Pink Pony Club. They've all stuck out to me as I'm watching commercials, walking through shopping malls, scrolling through TikTok. Imagine my shock and awe as a cis white guy to discover that all of these songs are from one single person who was playing DIY gigs just a few years ago. I am not in the demographic for Chappell Roan, but I will tell you what, she is remarkable and there's something so special about her. Don't be a hater because you only hurt yourself. You should listen to Red Wine Supernova. Childish Gambino, asterisk. Okay, so I've already talked about Childish Gambino, but all of you guys are sleeping on his new record. It slaps and you should give it a shot. Donald Glover announced that he was going to do his first proper show since 2019 in a super intimate outdoor venue in Manhattan last summer. It wasn't super clear how to get tickets though. There were no links, there was no clear way to obtain them. I thought, oh, okay, I'm gonna have to do some investigative work. Googling commences. I find the venue's website. Little Island has tickets that will go live in 3 days. I'm thinking to myself, most people are lazy and dumb and they're not gonna do the extra work to find these tickets, let alone actually live near New York City, right? Am I gonna allow myself to get excited at the prospect of possibly seeing Childish Gambino in such an intimate show? The answer is yes. I got 2 tickets by simply doing some basic research and following instructions. It wasn't that hard. They were $25 each. I had some guy offer me $500 in line. I was like, hell no. It was one of the most surreal shows I've ever attended. Donald Glover was like, right there. Steve Lacy and Fushi were just vibing in the front row in the same space that I was occupying, and every song was being played for the first time ever. Gambino's wife and children were just hanging out. It felt like a really special homecoming, and it helped me bond with Bando Stone in the new world. This album was pretty hyped in my brain. TikTok was going nuts over a Dungeons and Dragons NPC named Fartbuckle. Essentially, somebody put the song Lithonia over an animation of this sequence where Fartbuckle the goblin sacrificed himself for his friends, and Lithonia essentially became the Fartbuckle song.
R.I.P. Fartbuckle.
There were also trailers in IMAX theaters for the Bando Stone movie that was supposed to come out like a year ago. Where's the movie, Donald? Where is it? I want to watch this. Release it, you bastard. Bando Stone is the most easy to listen to record by Childish Gambino, in my opinion. I love Donald Glover, but he has a weird tendency to write a complete banger on one track and then follow it up with the corniest shit you've ever heard. He will go from 3005 to Pink Toes. He will go from Bonfire to Kids. He will jump from Me and Your Mama to Zombies. Bando Stone doesn't have that going on too much. Don't get me wrong, it still walks a fine line. Talk my shit in the night. Essentially anything featuring Amare's vocals are rough in parts.
I love all my ops. The bitch that see me whipping chickens almost called the cops.
She sounds like an anime voice actor playing a 4-year-old character. I don't believe her when she's rapping about sticking guns in people's faces and having 50 baby mamas in Atlanta when she sounds like an Animal Crossing villager.
I got 50 baby mamas in Atlanta.
Who let Wolfie chew on the track? Who let her out of her cage? But when this album rules, it's untouchable. Lithonia, legendary. I would do Crimes in any state to Got to Be. Yoshinoya is an excellent Drake diss track if you're lacking any of those in your life. Cruisin', We Are God, Dadvocate, The Place Where Love Goes. God! Oh my god. No Excuses is one of the best songs that Donald Glover has ever released. Top 3. It's up there. It's ridiculous. This album didn't exactly light the world on fire the way I was hoping it would. The lack of a movie didn't help either, Donald. But this record deserves to be heard and appreciated up there with Because the Internet and Awaken My Love. You should listen to Got to Be and ram your car into a building or something. Sufjan Stevens. It's pronounced Sufjan, just so you don't embarrass yourself in a record store. There are few musicians as tragic as Sufjan Stevens, I think, and his music totally reflects that. His most famous release, Carrion Lowell, is a meditation on the death of his estranged mother and all of the emotional baggage that comes with that. In April 2023, Sufjan's long-term partner, Evans Richardson, died. In August of the same year, he woke up to discover that he couldn't walk. He couldn't feel his limbs, and his brother drove him to the hospital to discover that he had suddenly come down with Guillain-Barré syndrome, a neurological disorder that essentially causes paralysis. Despite all of that, he still released his album Javelin and dedicated it to his late partner. This album is dedicated to the love of my life, my beloved Evans Richardson, who passed away in April. There's a thick layer of heartache that covers every record that he's made. Even as far as 20 years ago, themes of personal grief and longing are inescapable in his earlier records, Michigan and Illinois. Let me play you a side real quick. Illinois is a masterpiece. This record is euphoric. It is inhumanly good. Do you ever look at old, classic, perfect pieces of literature and ponder how it feels like it's timeless and divine with regards to how well realized and flawless this feels? I look to stuff like the Book of Exodus, The Prophet, Les Miserables, The Little Prince, songs like Auld Lang Syne, Ode to Joy, What's Going On, Blue. Put Illinois in these ranks. I'm not being hyperbolic. This is a generational achievement, and it will make you a fuller person for listening to it. Illinois is a daunting, huge, extensive, and dense body of work that digs into nearly every facet of the human condition through the lens of one of the coolest sleeper states in the United States. It's mind-boggling to come to terms with the reality that one man could compose an album this perfect, but here we are. It's quiet, it's loud, it's epic, it's personal, it's gorgeous, it's scary. Illinois is a once-in-a-lifetime album. I was lucky enough to catch Illinois during its stint on Broadway. The performance consisted of a full live band hoisted above the stage with silent professional interpretive dancers enacting a story below. My date at the time, completely unfamiliar with the album, was in tears by the end of it. It was devastating and one of the coolest live shows I've ever seen. I don't like the sentiment that artists need to suffer to make great art. It's patently untrue, it's toxic to believe, but there are a few artists like Sufjan Stevens who are skilled at tuning unimaginable suffering and tragedy and turning it into art that enriches the world in an admirable scale. I have a hard time thinking of contemporary musicians who have gone through more than Sufjan Stevens, and I also have a harder time thinking of artists who can so effortlessly turn that suffering into something incredible. He has over 300 songs under his belt. It is impossibly hard to recommend just one, but if I had a gun to my head, I would probably recommend The Predatory Wasp of the Palisades is Out to Get Us. This is one that should be listened to with the most expensive sound system or premium headphones that you own. Even years after hearing it for the first time, the song still knocks me on my butt. This is the type of stuff that you hear when you die and ascend to heaven. Yeah, I like Sufjan Stevens. You should listen to him. Bring Me the Horizon. Bring Me the Horizon is a metalcore band from the United Kingdom that formed in... No, I'm not done gushing about Sufjan Stevens. I'm writing the script, revisiting his discography. God, the song concerning the UFO sighting near Highland, Illinois came on, and that little piano bit sent me into space. The title track, Come On Philly, Illinois, is such a cool song to play in the car when I'm driving to Six Flags. The change-ups present in the structure are insane. It goes from sounding like a bustling business district sidewalk to a quirky traffic jam to bittersweet sleepless nights where you have an existential crisis meltdown. The song is so sweeping that it establishes its own motifs, and then it gets called upon and then recontextualized throughout its own song, its own runtime. Normally an album does that over the span of 40 minutes. How does one song have so much to say that it has enough material to call back upon itself in different lights repeatedly in a purely self-contained manner? This is insane. Vito's Ordination song, Should Play at My Funeral, Death with Dignity, rules so hard that it doesn't even need dynamics of any kind. It can just hang out in your living room, read the newspaper, and leave the house. And then you're like, wow, that was a really great dude. Will Anybody Ever Love Me is just... I like Sufjan Stevens a lot, and you should listen to him immediately. Okay, Bring Me the Horizon time. Bring Me the Horizon is a deathcore band, a metalcore band, a pop band. To say they've fundamentally changed over the last 20 years is an understatement. They went from sounding like this to sounding like this. Metal bands either die brutal or live long enough to see themselves become pop rock. 9 out of 10 times, it sounds like ass. Listen to Bludgeon to Death by Suicide Silence. It rules. Now listen to Doris by Suicide Silence. For most bands, that's the case. Not Bring Me the Horizon. They were made for this Tumblr, fast fashion waifu vibe. As far as stuff like Chelsea Smile and Pray for Plagues go, their discography from Sempiternal onward is awesome. This is a really good pop band. Bring Me the Horizon has something to say here. It's not a matter of the band dipping their toe into a new genre. They dive straight in and they take hold. You see glimmers of scope and scale in Suicide Season, especially that title track. There Is a Hell is a very clear transition from heavier, earlier stuff to more accessible poppy stuff. Sempiternal makes it clear that this band is far more interesting, dynamic, and more exciting once they're a little bit more chilled out, and this album still goes crazy hard. The transition is essentially completed with That's the Spirit. It's a perfect blend of hardcore influences and Urban Outfitters background music. I think this is their best album, don't at me. They go a little too far with their album Amo, but they course correct into that Goldilocks zone with post-human releases. Survival horror in particular is awesome. They somehow made Youngblood sound compelling. There is an army of bitter metalheads who have kind of given Bring Me the Horizon a reputation for being sellouts, a lame band that you should make fun of. The obnoxious basement-dwelling deathcore purists have left the room. All that's left are European gym bros and Coachella girlies and us. Hopefully, you will join me. Listen to the song Lost, which is a good combination of their pop and hardcore influences. Okay, these are the bands that you might have heard of. Saintseneca, whimsy, magical music for forest creatures is what you will find with Saintseneca. This project has been around for a while, originating from Columbus, Ohio. The frontman Zach Little has some serious artist chops, being a multi-instrumentalist, visual artist, and even a silversmith selling custom jewelry as merch. He is a weird dude. The lyrics are steeped with occult imagery referring to obscure literature and mythology. They play with religion and the supernatural from time to time, but they also strip things down to nature and irony to remain grounded as well. There are layers to the metaphors utilized depending on you to have prior knowledge of the philosophical implications of the folklore being called back on. There is poetry in the lyrics. The soundscapes created are lush and kooky. There are weird instruments everywhere. Dulcimer, bowed banjo, sitar, accordion. Baglama, what? Baritone ukulele, bouzouki, I don't know how to say that. All of these sounds come together to make songs that are otherworldly, catchy, fun, and special. This is a band that is simultaneously well-read and accessible. There is meat on the bones of this music, but it's still approachable to anybody interested. I recommend their song, Pillar of Na. It is long, but it covers pretty much everything that they're good at. Hodera. I was homeless for about a week in October. I was supposed to move into a house on the 1st of the month, but some paperwork was all funny and our landlord wouldn't close the deal. So I was simultaneously out of my apartment but not allowed into the prospective new house that I was trying to get. Living in New Jersey without a family, I don't have an aunt or a cousin or parents' house to sleep at, but I did know that I had a solid homie. Hodera's got me. Bro let me sleep in his bedroom while he crashed in his sister's room. Matt Smith has been working on building a really great community out here in North Jersey. He's created one of the coolest up-and-coming venues with incredibly pro-artist policies with regards to payment agreements. He has led a few songwriter support groups that I like to attend a few times a month. He's renowned in my town for leading one of the best open mics in the area, and he's also a working counselor to help folks in crisis as well. Oh, and his music is really good. Watching Matthew play guitar, he almost melds with his instrument. The riffs he comes up with are elaborate, fourth wave emo drenched and mesmerizing. These lyrics are heavy. They are uncomfortably intense at times. These are not your father's sad emo songs. There is some soul-rendering stuff here. Real glimpses of existential terror are present. This isn't like Phoebe Bridgers' quirky, quaint sadness. This is rock-bottom stuff. Hodera is a thinking man's folk emo rock project. This is advanced stuff, so approach it with your big boy thinking cap on, okay? His song Best Intentions is a really good place to start. Raccoon Tour. Raccoon Tour is a stupid band by a stupid guy from stupid Idaho, and they sing about stupid stuff like dying and whatnot. They play stupid ukulele, and the singer's trying to learn guitar, so that's pretty embarrassing. They released an album called The Denton Weaver all the way back in 2021, which sounds like 21 Pilots and Panic the Disco and Modern Baseball got dropped into a blender and pulverized into a fruity paste that makes you want to bully everybody involved. They released an admittedly pretty okay song called Cactus Song in 2024, which was loud and punchy, had a neat chorus, and then they released a new single called A Reptile Dysfunction, which has been recently described as McCafferty minus the child grooming and slurs. Awesome. Do you like stinky, stupid emo music made by total losers? Check out Raccoon Tour and their new song, A Reptile Dysfunction. Friko. While my band Raccoon Tour was on tour, we announced that we were playing a cool show in Boise with The Mind's Eye, Saint Terrible, and Friko. Upon the announcement, I had someone call me and freak out, "Oh my god, you're playing with Friko. No way, that's my favorite band right now." And then I had 2 more people reach out panicking that we were on the same bill as them. Out of curiosity, I listened to some of the music and it's perfect. This is like 2008 fairy tale vibes, if that makes any sense. Charlie Kaufman core. Joel from Eternal Sunshine would listen to this on his iPod. It has the same sweeping scale and depth as a band like Arcade Fire or The Flaming Lips or Modest Mouse. Wait, what's that? They're doing a tour with Flaming Lips and Modest Mouse? There is literally no better opener that they could have chosen. I was so lucky to get to see them perform, let alone on the same bill. I got to warm up my vocal cords singing along to their songs in the crowd, which was awesome. I got to talk to their drummer, Bailey, backstage. I looked her dead in the eye, and I said, over the next 2 years, amazing, incredible things are going to happen to you and Nico. You guys are going to deserve every single one of them. And by God, I think I'm right. As usual. Friko is an amazing, incredible, badass band. You should listen to Get Numb to it. Covey. When I saw Covey for the first time a while ago, not knowing his music, I saw about 3 furries in the audience with me. That's when I knew that his music was going to be fantastic. Many folks' first impression of Covey is through his bizarre short-form videos on TikTok and Reels, where he shows off the miniatures and lore that are baked into his music. And this guy has a lot of lore. It's captured the imagination of tons of folks. Covey's music is as quirky and eclectic as his lore and miniatures. His lyrics are bonkers and off the walls, his vocals sound like a cartoon character, and the number of in-jokes and self-contained world building in the form of motifs are really rewarding to dig into as deeply as you can. The more you put into this project, the more you're going to get out. Covey has a lot more depth than a lot of his contemporaries, and that justifies investing a lot of your brain power and attention into him. Once he has his hooks into you, you're done. Those TikToks, they're not silly promo pieces, they are a recruitment tool for a cult that will eat your soul. His song Twitching Heart is a really good boot camp for all the things that make him stellar. Leisure Hour. You guys are always on tour. How do you do it? Do you owe someone money? Blink twice if you need help. Selling point number 1 for Leisure Hour. If you listen to them and you like them, you will 100% get to see them live in the next few months because they are absolutely coming to your city. This band rips, and I always tell people that the sign of a good songwriter is that the artist in question makes music with the audience in mind. Someone should be able to see them live and come away humming a track or two. It doesn't get much more catchy and fun than this. These songs are life-affirming, exciting, quirky, and unapologetically heartfelt and sincere. This band has a coming-of-age jam that's just so fun. For the song recommendation, I think you should check out Ivy Tech by them. It's a stellar summer jam that highlights how fun they are, while also showcasing some pretty intense lyrics as well. Winnetka Bowling League. This band has a 2000s indie movie essence about them. They're dreamlike, nostalgic, and very ethereal. You know those memories growing up with the wood panel walls and the faint smell of cigarettes? Think like a bowling alley with super cheap food and technology that hasn't been updated since the 80s. Maybe that's why they're called Winnetka Bowling League. They're smooth, sultry, in a weird twee sense, and their lyrics are steeped with sardonic irony. This is a band that feels like summer, hopping fences and hanging in gas station parking lots, flings and heartbreak, and some mischief from time to time. These are rock-solid pop songs for the thinking man. I think you should listen to Slow Dances. It's a blast. Combat. This band is like a kick in the head. They were a solid emo punk outfit, but their new album, Stay Golden, has shot them to another level. This record is ambitious and anthemic and insane. It's a mini rock opera almost, with motifs and string sections and callbacks and huge moments of catharsis that elevate this record beyond being just another DIY emo project. This band slaps live, too. I was lucky enough to tour with them a lot of the East Coast. We hung out in a pinball museum in Rhode Island, which was wonderful. They even consoled me when I finished the Invincible comic series. Their performances are manic and loud and insane, circle pits and people beating each other up. And I gotta tell you, this band's virtuosity cannot be understated. Everybody is at the top of their A game. These are difficult songs played by skilled musicians. There are tons of moving parts and variables coming together to create an experience bigger than the sum of its parts, and you will experience that both live and while listening to their record. Their title track, Stay Golden, is a really good place to start. Okay, now here are the bands that you have not heard of. Kid Ambient Arcade. These guys are from Florida. Listen, if I lived in Grand Theft Auto 6, I'd be desperate for a hobby too. I was doing an Instagram live stream and they were like, hey, you should listen to our new song, Bocce Ball Tournament. And I was like, oh, okay, whatever. I listened and yeah, these kids got it. Far too often, I check out an artist on Spotify with less than 150 monthly listeners, and I'm like, yeah, I see why. But these guys are punching well above their weight class with their production skills, besting many bands far further along than they are. The thing that makes me excited for an up-and-coming music project is when I listen to their songs and I feel like they're including me in the logic being employed in the songwriting and production choices. Clue me in, make me feel like the song is for me, and pay off my attention with clever decisions. Kid Ambient Arcade are mature songwriters. Their live shows look phenomenal, the production quality is excellent, they are doing really, really well for themselves, and Kid Ambient, if you guys are watching, we should play a show when I come to Florida someday. I think you should listen to Bocce Ball Tournament. Missile Kids, do you like skate punk? This is textbook skate punk. Like, Missile Kids is as skate punk as they come. Brady is a genius, and the songs that he blasts out are loud and punchy. Is someone's heart rate flatlining? Play some Missile Kids if you don't have a defibrillator on hand. There is very little fat on any of these tracks. It's all killer, no filler. The longest song on his album, Kings of Sedalia, is 3 minutes and 30 seconds. These songs feel like they're about to burst from pressure, like a balloon that's been blown up far too much and it's starting to make you anxious. In the production as well, there are a lot of small touches of bedroom production in the form of twee little synths and melodicas and stuff. Missile Kids music feels like a volatile, radioactive ball that's bound to pop at a moment's notice. It is perfect for skate park listening if that's your cup of tea. You should listen to Day of the Dumpster. Saint Terrible. Did you know that I like Saint Terrible? Bro has not dropped anything in almost 4 years, but I am still simping over this project. There is a deep, otherworldly, magical wisdom present in all of these lyrics. If Saintseneca piqued your curiosity, this project has a lot of the same strengths as that band too, with the added element that Saint Terrible is way more theatrical and cinematic. There is an ever-evolving, ever-changing, ever-developing world and mythos that iterates with each release, music video, live performance, and costume change that is steeped in intricate thematic richness. Seeing Saint Terrible live is a particularly special experience because Zach, the songwriter, is constantly updating his old material with new twists, callbacks, adjusted context, tones. Saint Terrible is an eclectic and malleable project that is constantly changing with contributing artists and scales and mediums just coming and going. This is a throwback, but you should listen to Glenn Live. The Low Blow. I love The Low Blow so much. These are some of the best songwriters in the entire video, hands down, period. These songs are emotional bombs that will peel the skin from your face. The instrumentation is tight and intricate, but never masturbatory or gratuitous. The vocal performances from singer Patsy are notably incredible. I'll go so far as to say that she is my favorite singer in the emo scene right now. There is such an obvious heft and power behind the art that Low Blow makes. Their shows reliably bring crowds to tears. I've played with them a few times and they make people cry 100% of the time. It's apparent to everybody present how spectacular this band is, and I think anybody who takes the time to dig into their discography will see it plain as day. I don't know, in a world where bands like Home Is Where, Dogleg, Prince Daddy and the Hyena, and Sweet Pill are able to find audiences and reach masses to critical acclaim, it baffles my mind how the Low Blow are not considered in the same ranks of greatness. This band is that good, and I think they are absolutely deserving of more notoriety and success. I'm not a betting man, but I bet that once the world discovers how great the Low Blow is, they will be in pretty high demand soon. You should listen to Undertow with a good pair of headphones. It rules. Los Syringas, these guys are weird. They're a little jazzy, a little more intricate than the kind of thing I listen to, and their music is very clearly written by some well-studied musicians. They've really come into their own with their last EP, Fantasy. Yeah, I know it's an AI cover. I've already whined to them about it. Hopefully, they'll change it someday in the future. That doesn't change how fantastic the music itself is. Each song is a triumph standing out with very clear distinction. Fish is one of the best songs to come out of Boise, Idaho since Saint Terrible's last release. Fish is special, and I knew it the first time I heard it live. It haunted my dreams. I hummed it enough times to gaslight myself into thinking that I had wrote its bridge, and I was stoked to show the idea off to my bandmates, only to realize that I had plagiarized my friend's band. The soundscape is so lush and clearly realized. Every element they hint at that sounds cool gets its moment to shine in an amazing moment of catharsis. Fish is an expertly crafted bit of songwriting. Come to think of it, all of their songs are so joyous and uplifting. There is some pretty depressing music on this list, but Los Syringas is not depressing. They're also not patronizing with their positivity either. It's easy for happy songs to sound like they're talking down to you, but not here. Especially with the summer essentially right around the corner, Los Syringas is a great band to listen to on the beach or on a sunny walk. Legit, you should hear Fish by them. It's a masterpiece through and through. Leaway. Now I'm talking about this Leaway, not this Leaway that stole the name and spelling and are trying to inhabit the similar genre, despite being asked directly by the band not to. It's just an important distinction because this Leaway is very much better than this Leaway. The good Leaway consists of Bella Bennett and Randy McCurdy. I'm a little biased because they're playing bass and drums in my band Raccoon tour. A little personal story, one of the first post-COVID DIY shows I saw was Leaway. The gig was in a backyard and it began with Randy jumping off of a car and sprinting to the microphone. It was awesome. I still talk about it to this day. So fast forward a little while and we were in desperate need of a new drummer since the old one turned out to be a weird, creepy loser. Randy offered to replace him despite not having much of a background in drumming. So bro learned the drums for Raccoon Tour and he's now one of the best drummers I've ever played with. After a couple dozen gigs and a tour or two, we were then gonna hit the road with a giant irresponsible national tour in 2024. I was like, so should I just automate some bass stems and run them through an amp on stage? And Randy was like, no, we need Bella. Bam, Bella hops into the tour. She is the first and only bass player I've ever respected. Incredible, a bass player I don't want to beat up. Both Bella and Randy are spectacular, studied musicians who elevate my silly band Raccoon Tour. The only problem is I write mostly 4-chord pop songs. I imagine it's boring for someone actively pursuing a degree in music. Randy and Bella let loose with their compositions for Leaway in ways I'm not skilled enough to accomplish. Their songs are so sonically dynamic and interesting, really ruminating on inspired riffs and motifs, harping on them and allowing them to breathe and grow. They play with concepts long enough to allow them to change before your eyes and they take you along for the ride. Leaway is big on catharsis and there's a lot on display here. And speaking as their roommate, their newer material is going to be pretty spectacular. You should listen to Just Breathe. It's awesome. Bug Moment. There are few projects as chaotic as Bug Moment on this list. Not in the sense that they feature blast beats and math rock licks, which there still are from time to time, but rather that their influences are everywhere. Emo, screamo, hyperpop, bedroom, hip-hop, goddamn circus tunes, the whole shebang. There are a lot of extremes here. When they go hard, they flood the listener's eardrums with distortion and screaming synths, and when they're soft, they're very twee and small. The textures they deploy are all over the place. There's a frenetic energy on display with regards to how varied this band is, and it makes them so interesting. I played with them a handful of times, and I think it is so incredibly special how this specific band of misfits found each other and decided to make such badass music. They're all weirdos, and they all play off of each other perfectly, balancing one another's impulses and influences to make something as wild and forward-thinking as their discography. Bug Moment rules. I love them very much. You should check out their song Purple Guy. Bedbugz. Finally, we have Bedbugz from across the pond in good old UK. This is a dreamy, colorful, and artsy band that just so happened to be my top artist of 2023. How neat is that? It's interesting to compare Bug Moment to Bedbugz. Sure, they both have a buggy name, but they draw from similar cultural inspirations like 2000s nostalgia and cartoons and children's media, but they go in very different opposite directions. Bug Moment is manic and wild and awesome. Bedbugz is more of a band I want to lay with and listen to. I guess you could say one of them creates a moment and the other is for bed, am I right? Bedbugz is far more gentle, far more cozy, and far more whimsical. And that's saying a lot because Bug Moment is also pretty whimsical. I should probably drop the comparisons here. Bedbugz is awesome because the material is so idyllic. Stanley Kubrick famously said that film should be like taking a picture of reality, if that makes sense. Bedbugz is not a photo of childhood, it is a photo of childhood. There is dream logic and magic communicated to the listener. It's melancholy, sweet, and it feels like a big hug. There's also some really interesting conceptual stuff going on here too, especially with All Hail the Goblin King. I messaged them on Instagram about their lore, and they proceeded to ramble to me about like parasitic worms that grant self-realization, being purged in a war that causes societal reset. And dog, I don't know a single thing you said, but it sounds so cool. Bedbugz is a ton of fun. This would be a great band to draw and make art to. I think you should listen to, but we're not. And that is the list. Yippee! I have a playlist in the description if you want to check them out. Please support artists, especially in these brutal, terrifying times plagued by idiotic and evil leaders making every effort to snuff out humanity and culture. What are some bands that you like? You should comment them below so other people can check them out. I'll be listening to. Give bands money and always tell your friends about your new favorites. It helps the world go round. Be safe, be smart, and stay spicy. I'll see you around soon.